CHGO White Sox Podcast. And welcome into Studio B today. It's three of us, and we're in Studio B. Yesterday, it was only two of us, and we were in Studio A. That's how the world turns. Whatever. My name is Herb Lawrence. You can follow me on Twitter or X at EcknerWall23. It is Lawrence spelled
ExnerWall23.
There it is. Lawrence spelled backwards 23. That guy all the way to the left is Vinnie Duber. He's the CHGO White Sox beat writer. And you can follow him at Vinnie Duber on X and or Twitter, whatever you want to call it today. And the guy in the middle, one of our favorites, used to be a great beat reporter here for the White Sox, and now he's a great beat reporter for the Minnesota Twins via The Athletic. His name, Dan Hayes. You can follow him on Twitter at Dan Hayes MLB. Dan, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good. I appreciated the quick commute in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that, and we won't get into your business now. But, yeah, it's good that you are a local guy here now, but you still cover the Minnesota Twins. And we're going to get into the Minnesota Twins and the AL Central in a bit. And then also we will talk about Vinnie and the assembled media talk via Zoom to White Sox new shortstop Paul DeJong and see what he had to say about his time in St. Louis and what he will do here as a new Chicago White Sox. But first, Dan, how is it going for you as the Minnesota Twins beat writer for The Athletic? I mean, we see the Minnesota Twins, who are now the reigning champions of the AL Central, and I look at them like, that's just, they just got lucky. But I read your articles in The Athletic, but this year they're going to be shedding payroll?
Yeah.
Why are the Minnesota Twins, of all teams who just won the AL Central, not pushing the foot down on the pedal and saying, hey, we're going to take this division and never give it back?
One part is it's a little natural just because they have so many affordable players that, Royce Lewis, Edward Julian, Matt Wallner, guys like that, all are making the league minimum. But the other part is that TV money is a huge part. They're going to lose annually. They're making $55 million, which is by far the worst TV deal in baseball. That's going away. Bally's, their deal with Bally's expired at the end of the year. So right now they have no TV deal, no broadcast deal. They're working on that. What they're going to receive to make up that $55 million, they don't know. But the third factor of all of this is it's the AL Central. And they know that they have a feeling they don't have to spend because right now that money's committed to Carlos Correa, Pablo Lopez, Royce Lewis. They look at their roster and they think we have a roster that's going to win the division right now. We need to add some parts to build it out, but we can afford to let Sonny Gray go. We can afford to let Kenta Maeda go. And it's very difficult for fans to wrap their heads around right now, without question. I understand that totally. They're going to have to, if they want to do what they did last year, they're going to have to add a really good pitcher. How they're going to do that, it's going to be very interesting to see these next couple months because they have this self-imposed budget. Right now they're around $120 million. I bet they go to 130, 135. It's a big question mark, and I agree. It's weird timing having that they just ended that 18-game losing streak in the postseason and won their first division series since Vinnie was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So
what year was it?
It was 2002. So
I was 12. I was 12.
He was old. I was wondering, Bally's, so that's part of the whole bankruptcy from
Diamond Sports Group.
Diamond Sports Group. Okay, so all these teams who have had Bally's have to find new TV partners, and so that's going to be probably tough because of the new market and how streaming goes. But is there is there a buyer that's new or close? Because Twins baseball is very important to those people up there and people in Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota too.
Yeah. I think long run, this could be very good for the Twins. They anticipate that they're going to get into 4 million homes, 4.4 million homes. Last year, they were able to get into 1.3 million homes.
Sounds low.
Yeah, it is. But Twins territory is Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, and parts of Wisconsin. It's a very small territory.
Well, it's large in terms of land mass, but
yes, exactly. But not a lot of people live there. Right. It's cold. There's not a lot of big cities. So it's spread out. And
you ever been to Fargo, Hayes?
I have not actually been to Fargo.
Are there a lot of Twins fans in Fargo?
There's a ton of Twins fans in Fargo, at least 12. No,
at least 12.
It's only 3 hours away, so I assume there's a lot of people in Fargo that are Twins fans. But the fact that they can triple the amount of homes that they can get into is a big deal. The thing is we're heading into this new territory in baseball where teams have no idea. Streaming rights, blackouts have killed them. That kind of stuff it needs to change. This should be better for the consumer. What the thing is you need to have a very good product to attract the consumer. The Padres were the test case last year.
Yep.
They lost their Bally's deal mid-season. They were in the middle of a 20-year, $1.2 billion, or maybe it was $2.1 billion. They lost a lot of money in the middle of the year. Bally's just decided to stop paying them because their ratings were terrible. The Twins now, like they basically got to start streaming at mid-season. That was a tough sell. That was a bad team. Even though they were coming off the NLCS and being very close to going to the World Series, they were a terrible team in the middle of the year. So they ended up selling 18,000 subscriptions in the middle of the season. If you do the math, that's like $1.8 million.
It's half the people you can fit in the stadium.
And they were making something like 70, 80 million off their TV deal. So teams around baseball are going to adjust accordingly this year. You're going to see it. Cleveland's going through the same thing right now. I'm sure when NBCSN, we'll see what happens with the White Sox in the future. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, they own 2 of the 3 teams. And so their ability to have one package can probably sustain them. But I mean, this is going to be the new dynamic. However, the idea that you can get to your team, to your audience, should help in a lot of ways. The Twins look at this as they've won 3 divisions in the last 5 years. In that time, they've reached 1.3 million of their 4.4 million households. That's like 1/3 of your audience has seen you win the division 3 times, and they feel like there's a little bit of out of sight, out of mind. They only drew 2 million fans at the ballpark last year.
Wow.
So now typically you get an increase the following year.
Right.
So they should get to 2.3, 2.4 million this year based off of last year. But what would that have been had they had all these fans that they could reach? I mean, everybody should be able to see Royce Lewis. Everybody should be able to see Carlos Correa. That's what they're trying to get to.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you about the Twins in a second, but first I want to know, how many of the 10,000 lakes have you gone for a dip in?
A dip?
Yeah.
0.0.
You haven't swam in any of the 10,000 lakes?
Vinny, I lived in San Diego for 12 years. The furthest I got into the ocean was to my knees.
Really? You're just not a swimmer?
Twice.
You're not a swimmer?
Pools, yes. And
natural bodies of water, no.
Not really.
Very smart.
Maybe warm natural bodies of water. Cancun, yes. Hawaii,
Gulf of Mexico?
Yes.
Gulf of Mexico's on there?
As long as there's no fresh oil spills to be swimming through.
True enough.
And that's the thing. People think that you're in San Diego and that water is going to be warm. No, it's cold as hell.
It's freezing. All those dudes are wearing wetsuits.
Cold.
Yes.
Very cold.
Yeah, it's like 58, 60 degrees
Yeah.
all year.
I was only out there for a year. I went twice, and one time was in the water. And I was like, I'm good enough. Yeah. I don't like sharks or jellyfish.
Yeah.
I'm good on both of those things. And they both live out there.
Yes, they do. So now there's no sharks in those lakes.
That is true, yeah.
But we work in baseball. You realize that we work.
You're busy during swimming season, yeah.
Everybody's like, yeah, you work in baseball. It's great, free tickets. It's like, yeah, I live in the Midwest. The only good time for weather is the summer. And we work every summer day and we work every weekend. So, yeah, I just don't go in lakes, I guess. I don't know.
That's disappointing. I'm gonna bet that those 4.4 million Twins fans are gonna be a little disappointed to hear that.
I'm gonna guess that you've been in more of those 10,000 lakes than I have.
Haven't been in one. Well, have I been in one? I don't know. I've been at one, walked around one. Yeah.
So really?
Yeah.
You're calling me out on this?
Yeah. Well, I don't cover the Minnesota Twins, Hayes.
How many lakes?
I've been in Lake Michigan.
Okay. All right. Fair.
This Twins team.
Yes.
We talked about them earlier this week. They had just lost 2 of their starting pitchers. They are the reigning champs, as Herb said, but they seem to be worse today than they were last week. Yep. That being said, no other team in the AL Central seems capable of knocking them off at the moment. Yeah. Do you see this Twins team as the king of the division either because they're good or the king of the division just by default? Because to me, when I look at them, I'm not seeing a team that another team should go into a series against and be scared. Oh man, or like in another division, the Mariners. Oh man, we got to chase down the Astros. How are we going to chase down the Astros? Or a team in the AL East trying to get past any of those teams in the Central. I'm not sure I see another team saying, oh man, oh my God, I can't believe we have to try and beat the Twins. But because those teams are the caliber they are, the Twins are kind of in that position anyway, aren't they?
So Detroit has done a good job of starting to catch up a little bit. I think Detroit will be better next year. Mm-hmm. I love the Kenta Maeda signing. They have a lot to recover because they're probably not going to sign Eduardo Rodriguez back. The Twins got 2 wins combined out of Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa last year and won 87 games. 2 wins from guys that you pay $48.5 million to. Carlos Correa annually should be a 5-6 win player. Like, where was that production last year? It was gone because he played with plantar fasciitis for 91 games. Other foot, not the ankle. The Twins are very, very clear about that. Not related to the ankle. Byron Buxton, we'll see if he can get back to that production. Carlos Correa should be able to get back to that production. Royce Lewis is a star in the making.
I hate it.
Hit all those grand slams.
He had 4 in like 9 games or whatever it was. It was
I
incredible.
liked it when he was hurt.
Yeah.
Much better when he's hurt.
He is the best dude. Everybody, if he was here, he'd be such a star.
I'm sure.
He will be such a star. Baseball will, like, it's going to be, the injuries will be the only thing that potentially, and by the way, here we're talking about another top Twins pick, first rounder that's dealing with injuries. He should be a star. Edward Julian will be a star. Matt
French
Wallner,
Canada's finest.
Yeah, and it's French for, like, I'm gonna keep that joke going forever on Twitter. Edward Julian is French for whatever I feel like saying.
So whatever he does in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
French for RBI single to right.
Pablo Lopez is a legitimate starting pitcher. They're getting Chris Paddock back. We saw what he can do in relief in the playoffs. Padres fans were dying about that because he's throwing 98, 99 after they gave up on him. Look, there are plenty of reasons to be worried about this Twins team. They should be, right now, a 90-win team. That's just, I mean, they're going to, because one thing is they're going to add another starting pitcher. What that is, I don't know, but they have to replace somewhere around 300 innings between Sonny Gray and Kenta Maeda. However, Chris Paddock should eat up 140 of those. So they're going to add another guy. They'll probably sign a veteran to a minor league, like a NRI contract, and invite, like a Jake Odorizzi type out there, something like that. At that point, you have 6 deep in your rotation. Bailey Ober is like a 3.7 career ERA over a ton of starts. Who else am I missing in that rotation? Pablo Lopez. Joe Ryan had a very bad second half, but he had a 2.89 ERA in June. It was looking very good, and they got hurt. So I think the Twins deserve a little bit more credit. They're going into this season with their base roster way better than they've been in the last 4 years. But they need guys to get healthy and recover.
Because, like, are they one surprise Cleveland addition away from losing the division? Are they one good season from Javi Baez away from losing the division?
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, the rotation is 4 deep right now. Louis Varland's their 5th. If they get enough depth to put Louis Varland in the bullpen, you have Duran, you have Jax, who looked electric in the playoffs, and he struggled at times last year. You have Brock Stewart, who was electric all season, and you throw Louis Varland in that mix. He throws 100 out of the bullpen. He's thrown 95 as a starter. He probably is a number 5 starter at best. We'll see if he makes some kind of adjustment from the first year as a starter in the majors to this year. He should get that shot, but if they have to force him to the bullpen, they have a very good, deep, electric bullpen. They play good defense. And I think when you think about those two things in this division, I don't think anybody catches them right away unless Detroit ups its payroll and adds more pitching. Because Detroit, I think, has a very interesting middle of the lineup. I love Carpenter. I think Torkelson showed more of what he is in the second half. I think that they can get closer. And I've always been a big AJ Hinch guy. I think the White Sox missed their window there. That would have been the hire for me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. That could have changed a lot of things here. And so I think Detroit can gain some ground, but it's the Twins division to win and to win easily.
And Dan, and we're talking to Dan Hayes from The Athletic, Twins beat reporter for The Athletic. The person that I look at the Twins at and I say, if he ever got healthy, this would be over. What's wrong with Byron Buxton, and why is he continuously hurt? I'm not complaining, because him being the way he is right now gives other people in the Central chances to look up at the Twins and say, we can go and get that. But the second that he plays 140 games where he's healthy, that's a 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 win player. What's wrong with him? Like, what happened last year? What was the injury last year?
Last year was the knee that he had surgery on the year before, still didn't get healthy. So he tried to build it up slowly over the course of the year. The plan all along was for him to get to center field eventually. At first, it was like, we're coming to spring training, and we're going to start him at DH. He's going to go for like a month or two. When it warms up, we're going to put him in center. Well, then May comes, and there's no work being done to put him in center because the knee just never got there. Finally, they had, the hamstring injury. I think it was August 2nd. And they were going to take all of August, build him, give him the time to rest, let the knee rest, build him up, and then all of a sudden, voila, he was going to be in center field for the end of the season and the playoffs. Couldn't get there. In fact, talking to him after the elimination loss, he got a pinch hit at bat in the 8th inning of Game 4 against Houston, and he said that was the most painful at bat of his career.
Oh, wow.
He had surgery right after that. They say he's progressing well. It's tough to rely on that. I think what they did last year was great. They had Michael A. Taylor, who had 21 home runs and was electric defensively, a Gold Glove caliber defender. So they went into that season with that plan, and I think they need to do that again this year. We'll see what they do. If it's Austin Martin, that would be really interesting. He was the number 5 pick of the 2020 draft. They got him in the Jose Barrios trade. He's probably like a Shannon Stewart, like a on-base guy with not a lot of power.
Good Twins callback.
I'm about to say, you're just bringing back bad memories.
But he, that's his probably his ceiling. We'll see if he ever hits for power.
Stay tuned to see if Dan Hayes drops a Jock Jones reference later in the show.
No, but we when you look at this team, it's really interesting because the Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa combining for 2 wins and potentially their 12-win player if each of them breaks out. That's very scary thought. Do I think that would actually happen? Say there's like a 40% chance of that happening. I love Byron Buxton.
They're still probably going to run or expected to run away with the division.
I just think they have
It's
enough.
Wild though. Just think about that. That's wild that their 2 best players. You're saying, maybe they'll be all right. And then,
they have great production at catcher. They get really good production out of Ryan Jeffers. Christian Vasquez had a terrible season, but they're solid there. Everywhere you look, they're really solid. Royce Lewis at third, Carlos Correa at short, either Polanco or Julian at second, and Brooks Lee, who's he's in the top 20 prospects in baseball. He's their second baseman in waiting. Maybe they move Julian to first base. They have Wallner, who had like an 830 OPS last year in right field. Kirilloff, who knows what they'll ever get from him, but he used to be a top 20 prospect. The way I look at Buxton is the way White Sox fans are frustrated with Eloy Jimenez.
Yeah.
Times that by 2.
I would.
Byron Buxton has so much potential. We saw it. He was an all-star in 2022. He was electric. He's the dude. And there's nobody that wants it more, which is what makes it so tough for him because his body just has continually broken down on him. He played the 140 games in 2017. He has not played 100 games since. Last year was the closest.
He's like the antithesis of the Miguel Sano's of the world.
Yeah.
Because I've heard only bad things about Miguel Sano, and now I think he's just out of Major League Baseball, which is sad, but also like wasted potential of Miguel Sano. He could have been a 40 home run guy. Now he's just not in baseball anymore. But yeah, I feel sad for Byron Buxton because I like to watch the player when he's not playing the White Sox. But when he does play the White Sox, I think he has 17 career home runs versus the White Sox, and I'm always 4 balls. Let him go to first.
Yeah, he is one of those guys. You don't let him beat you.
No.
Royce Lewis has become that too. And it's really weird to say about a guy that has 60 career games. But think about this. Royce Lewis, and you can look his stats up. I think he had 14 homers and 50 RBIs last year. He was the AFL MVP in 2019. The pandemic happens. He was probably too far away at that point to play in the majors in 2020. Maybe in a full 2020. He would have played in the majors. He spent the entire summer at the alternate site. Wiped out season. He comes to camp in 2021, ready to sort of make an impact, tears his ACL. He found out that he had torn his ACL during the offseason, entire 21 season wiped out. He comes back from that, start of 2022. He makes it to the majors in May. I think he had 50 at-bats at AAA. He hit something like 350 at AAA, having not played since October of 2019, November of 2019. Everybody had questions about his bat in November of 2019. He comes up and he hits 4 home runs in like 13 games, tears his ACL again at the end of May 2022. Returns from that 1 year to the day, same day that Liam, in fact, I was at, because the Twins were on this little 3-game road trip, I knew I could skip the road trip, and I actually was at Liam's comeback game here. Royce Lewis came back that same day on the 1-year anniversary of leaving, hit a home run, opposite field, then had a game-tying single off Ryan Presley, and they won in 10 innings. if Liam Hendriks hadn't made his amazing comeback, everybody in baseball would have been talking about Royce Lewis's amazing comeback. All he's done is hit. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he can do if he can stay on the field 140 games.
And after the break, we will talk about the White Sox, a little bit more about the Twins and the AL Central as a whole. But Vinnie and the Assembled Media talked to Paul DeJong today. We're going to get some of those quotes and what he got to say about his time in St. Louis and what he's going to be expecting here in Chicago in 2024. But Vinnie.
Yes, Herb.
588-2300.
Hayes, you want to join us? Empire Today. Guys, with Empire Today, you get to shop at home. You get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, if you can believe it. But Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in their own home. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. What you got to do is you got to go ahead and use their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating, so don't do it. You might talk to somebody today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Ridiculous. But flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring. They put their face down on the floor and inhale flooring.
Don't do that, friends.
Yeah, don't try it at home. These are professionals. So you can be confident that you're getting honest and upfront advice. They pride themselves on their convenient shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors where they can use their floors so they see exactly what their new floors will look like in their home's lighting and decor so they can make an informed decision. Here's what you should do. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo... Thank you, Sarah. When they use the promo code CHGO. Some restrictions do apply. Please see EmpireToday.com/CHGO for all of your relevant details.
It is Black Friday savings time at Ray Chevy in Fox Lake. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop Chicagoland's largest inventories. And all month long, you can save big at Ray Chevy during their Black Friday sales event, where you can choose over 100 Silverados in stock, the perfect tailgate vehicle. But that's not all. You get 0% financing with $0 down and 0 payments until 2024. And I know everybody loves the word free, and that's what you'll get this month at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake, a free oil change. All you need to do is mention CHGO, this company, when scheduling your oil change. It's Black Friday offer you don't want to miss, but you have to schedule by November 30th, which is tomorrow. Buy with confidence with the Ray Price Promise. It's a guarantee that the price we see online will be the price that you'll pay at the dealership. In many cases, other dealers will raise the price on you when you come in asking you questions like, are you a recent college grad?
No.
College? You're kind of recent.
You're pretty recent, Sarah.
2 years ago.
Okay.
Compared to us.
Yeah. Are you active in the military, Sarah?
No.
Are you a farmer?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then that's when other dealers raise the price on you, saying the price online included online limited rebates that you do not qualify for, Sarah. Well, at Ray Chevy, the price you see online is the price you pay, with no add-ons or hidden fees ever. In fact, Ray will do everything possible to find additional savings for you, which may lower the price you see online. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com to get your Black Friday savings today. They've been serving the community since 1963. Find new roads. Now today, Vinnie got to speak to the new White Sox shortstop, Paul DeJong. And so what do you have to say, Vinnie?
Well, I mean, listen, I think if you were disappointed by the way the White Sox played last year and the year before, I would say a lot of mistakes defensively, a lot of mistakes on the base paths, kind of a lack of visible leadership. And listen, we heard about it all year long, kind of the, if you want to call it drama, but let's just say climate that existed in the clubhouse, be it with the trades they made at the deadline to try to address that, or what we heard from one of those players who was traded after the deadline, kind of critiquing those things. Mm-hmm. Paul DeJong sounds like the exact opposite of all of that stuff. He is a guy who sat there and brought up the word fundamentals, I think, 45 times. That's exaggerating, of course. But he's talking about defense. He's talking about base running, talking about being part of a winning team. If you remember in 2019, the year he was so good for the St. Louis Cardinals, that team went to the NLCS. He has the profile of everything the White Sox weren't last year. That being said, you can look up the offensive numbers. You know they were not good. And I would argue that not making mistakes in the field, not making mistakes on the base paths only goes so far if you're not scoring any runs. So obviously that has to happen. But if you are looking for a team that plays a more fundamentally sound style, a team that plays better defense, this is a guy that you should be happy is on the team from in those very specific aspects. And it sounded to me a lot like what Chris Getz and Pedro Grifol, dating back to the end of last season, were talking about in the way they want this team to play. Heck, you heard about it from Pedro Grifol in his opening press conference an offseason ago, right? All that stuff didn't happen. The stuff that he said the White Sox were going to do, they didn't do.
Not at all.
Paul DeJong showed up today, or yesterday, I guess, when he signed, talked to us today, and was talking about his specialty being all those things that Pedro Grifol wanted this team to do. So I think they can count on his presence being a positive one, specifically in regards to those things. Still, this is a guy here on a one-year placeholder deal waiting for the top prospect, and a guy who, the offensive numbers don't exactly say that he's going to light the world on fire.
You want to say something?
I know it's not a sexy move. I know a lot of fans are disappointed. Here's one thing I like about it. The White Sox are not screwing up by putting it all on Colson Montgomery right now. Look, there was a lot of talk when Tim Anderson got non-tendered, but they didn't pick up the option. Right. Sorry. And I actually covered the White Sox at the GM meetings with you.
You were there. You're standing right next to me.
I was. And we talked to Chris Getz, and there were some serious questions about Colson Montgomery's readiness because he tore up the AFL. And did he win the MVP?
Yeah.
All right. And everybody's getting hyped on him. They should. He's a great prospect. He also, talking to a lot of people, needs more time in the minors to show he can hit. And I think that for that move, that one, you provide the stability that they desperately need. This is such a fundamentally lousy team. It was shocking when the Twins lost a game to them last year. Like, absolutely shocking every single time because the Twins are a fundamentally sound team. And occasionally a bat would wake up. Eloy Jimenez would have a 4 RBI game, something like that. But this team needs that in the worst way. But also, they need to take care of their future. And bringing Montgomery up at opening day and just saying it's your team, I don't know that would be a sound plan. He needs to show that he deserves to be here. This is perfect for that reason because, look, I mean, I know you guys probably know this. 2024 is really out the window. Like, this isn't going to be a good White Sox team. This is going to be a lousy White Sox team. The trade for the Aaron Bummer trade told you that. They got 5 bodies. Maybe 1 or 2 of those guys turns out to be something, but you got cheap placeholders to put on the field because you had to do that in some form or another. Payroll's going down. It's not going to be $181 million. They took a bath at a team that they went from 121 or 128 to $193 million to $181 million. All they did in attendance over that time was go from 1.6 million fans to 2 million fans the year after they won the division. And they dropped to 1.67 million fans. They took an absolute bath. I guarantee they lost a ton of money last year. I know it's other people. I know it's billionaires' money. I get it. Mm-hmm. It'd be great to see them take losses. They absolutely did take a loss, and they're not looking at it going, we can afford to take this loss again next year because there's probably no realistic path to winning with the roster you have right now. So this is a placeholder year. And so not screwing up your future is probably the best way to go. And I think DeJong fills that role.
Well, and I think what happens when one of the other things that he talked at length about today, which I think points to, hey, this guy can be a positive presence, even if he's not going to go out there and hit 30 home runs, even if he's not going to be the guy that in the stat sheet gets you closer to that contention realm. He's a guy that played for the St. Louis Cardinals, learned a lot from the veterans there and the coaches there. And, hey, that Cardinal way gets made fun of an awful lot, and it probably deserves to in a lot of cases. But it is an identity. And the thing that Chris Getz keeps talking about is wanting to establish an identity for this White Sox organization that did not exist in the years before. And so if you can take pieces, the positive pieces ideally, from a bunch of other different organizations, you bring in guys who know what it was like to play on a winning team here and a winning team there, guys who have learned those lessons, they can make that part. It doesn't have to be a 50% or 80% or anything like that, but their presence can have an impact on what that identity looks like going forward. We use the word, we talked about it to death, culture last year. This is a move that could positively impact that in a guy who really seems to fit the exact description of what Chris Getz and Pedro Grifol have been talking about, what they want the players on this team to look like.
And if you want to read more, Vinnie wrote an article on ALLCITY.com about what Paul DeJong got to say. And I agree with you, Vinnie. The initial move I was poo-pooing because of my hurt feelings for Tim Anderson and thinking that guy was going to show up in 2024, the real Tim Anderson. And so I think that's still going to happen. And as I said yesterday, the fact that they're only paying Paul DeJong minimum, like $1.7 million to play shortstop at the rate that he does, where the glove is going to be there 100% of the time, and he might run into a couple home runs. 15 home runs, I think most White Sox fans would be like, from our shortstop position, man, we haven't seen this in a minute.
Well, they had one last year.
Yeah, exactly. So, to have him on the team, and he sounds like a very cerebral guy, and some of the things you said in the story, which you guys should go and check out on allchgo.com and check out what Vinnie had to say about, or what Paul DeJong had to say about joining the White Sox. It's a very good and well-written article because Vinnie's a professional like that.
Well,
but
thank you, Herb.
I want to say, and I hear what you're saying, Dan. 26 games worse than the division winners, of course, and they're downshifting with no Tim Anderson this year. All the starting pitchers that they had the starting year are pretty much gone. We look at the Twins thing, and they're like, oh, they lost 2 starting pitchers, and then today lose Emilio Pagan. It's like, man, poor Twins. I'm looking at the White Sox. They barely got anybody on the starting rotation. So yes, I will resign that the White Sox, for the most part, will not win the AL Central next year. Probably not trying to compete. I think that it's open for the taking because the Twins are saying, hey, let's share all this payroll and we'll still be good. I think it's an insult to White Sox, and Jerry Ryan starts to feel that way. But, what is the outside view? You've been away for, 5-6 years now of doing Twins for The Athletic. What's the outside view of the White Sox as a whole? Because you were talking about the undisciplined play and how the Twins felt kind of slighted when the White Sox would win a game. I'm thinking about the game where Tim Anderson got hurt. It was in a rundown in Minnesota with Hanser Alberto doing dumb things. It was just a regular rundown, which the White Sox made into an adventure, which lost our shortstop for a long time.
I mean, they can hit. You look at that middle of that order.
Who can? The White Sox?
Well, Robert can.
Yes,
he can.
And Eloy Jimenez can.
When he wants to.
When he's healthy. It's a mess. I think that's what the outside view is. I think that what they're trying to do, it's a plan, and it's good to have a plan. Who knows how anything works? I don't know. I don't know if, but having the identity and trying to establish fundamental, that's not a bad baseline to start from. I mean, look, I started covering the White Sox in 2012. There is no point in the 6 years that I covered them that they were a fundamental team. There's been no point since I've left in 6 years that they were a fundamental team.
Oh, man, you covered them all the terrible years.
I would bet if you went through the beat writer history that my record from 2012 to 2017 is up there.
You think you got the worst? You think you got the worst winning percentage in beat writer history?
It's possible. It took me leaving when the Twins made the playoffs in 2019. That's the first time in 13 seasons I covered a playoff team. So I had this streak my own. But I mean, I went into NBCSN on Memorial Day in 2012 for my final interview. I think Paul Konerko was hitting .410 at that point. The rest of the year. And the following season, when he was hurt all year, and they gave him that follow-up year in 2014, I basically saw Paul Konerko as a 240 career hitter. This guy hit 400-something home runs.
This the guy you're giving a statue to?
and so I've not seen a lot of good White Sox baseball. It has not changed. It has to change. So it's a start. I mean, and not messing with your young guys yet, especially because who they're going to run out there in the rotation. It's rough right now. I mean, you probably need to trade Cease. I don't know if you want. I think you can keep Robert. I would try to build around Robert. You want to be strong up the middle. That's what good teams do. Can't remember the catcher's name they got in the Giolito Lopez trade from
Edgar Caro.
Right.
Yes.
He's a good prospect.
It's like 20.
Right.
Yeah.
He's probably a couple years away.
Yeah.
But Colson Montgomery is right there. You want to be strong up the middle. That is what every good team is very good at. Right now you have a great catching prospect. You have a great shortstop prospect. You have an elite center fielder. That's a good start, but it's just building blocks. It's probably going to be a couple of years. I mean, it really is. And it's scary to think that they might have to tear down entirely again, because I was here for that last tear down. They were always great at being about 8 deep with studs, and then parts 9 through 25 on the roster, and now 26 were never really great. And, 2020 and 2021, that was a fun team. That rotation was solid. When Lance Lynn was calling himself a big bastard, that was a fun team. It's unfortunate it didn't get very far.
Yeah, I just think that I'm reluctantly agreeing with you, because those teams were fun, and that's why I'm sad right now in 2023. We just had the championships or the winning in 2021 for the AL Central. Did you guys 19 AL Central champions?
20 won it in 20 because the White Sox
blew it at the end. That week in Cleveland.
What was the controversy? Was it Rodon pitched with the bases loaded?
Yeah.
And that basically gave the Twins a division. I don't really count 2020. I mean, it's great. You can put the flag up, but that was a weird year. It was like a 3-headed monster with Cleveland right there too. So all 3 teams made it, and there were 8 teams in the playoffs. I don't know that really matters. It was a weird season. But yeah, so the Twins won it in 19, 20. Then they were terrible in 21 because they had 0 pitching. They were terrible in 22 because they got injured basically. And they bounced back this year and won 87. And they were under 500 at the All-Star break. And then they were just electric. Yeah, their offense finally woke up, and they have a very underrated. They ended up, I think, 10th in runs scored. And that's with, again, Correa and Buxton providing almost nothing. So there's a lot of potential there for more. And it's weird because I look at what their rotations have been in the past, and I know we're segueing away from the White Sox here.
No, it's all right. I wanted to get back to the Twins too.
When you go to 21, the Twins additions to the rotation were Dylan Bundy, Matt Shoemaker, J.A. Happ. That was what they added to Jose Barrios, and I can't even remember. Maybe they picked up Joe Ryan for Nelson Cruz that year.
I think the name you're looking for is Brad Radke.
yes, exactly. No, but
Lediano.
Bailey Ober was not in there. Was not even in big league camp, and he made 20 starts for that team in 2021. Now he is a fixture in the rotation. They go in with so much more depth in their rotation right now. Between Pablo Lopez, who had 234 strikeouts last year, and was, I think he's his top 5 finisher. Maybe he was 7th in AL Cy Young.
Yep.
You look at him, Paddock should be really good. Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan. That's as strong of a rotation as the Twins have had right now on November 29th at any point in the 6 seasons I've covered the Twins. So they will add somebody. They have payroll flexibility. I expect they will trade Max Kepler or Jorge Polanco.
I was going to
say Max Kepler. I saw the question there. I would say Max Kepler is available.
Thank you. Get him out.
Kyle Farmer is probably available because shortstop free agent market's weak and teams need shortstop help. He'll be $6 million. They will trim $16 million from the 21-20 right now. They'll have about $30 million to sign 1 starting pitcher, 1 reliever, 1 right-handed bat that can play outfield and either outfield or first base, and 1 reliever. And I think they can fit a good starting pitcher and then 3 other parts in with that $30 million and end up around $135 million and be as good of a team on paper or better than they were last year.
As they are the reigning champions, but they're cutting payroll. How do the fans deal with that? They see the Twins are the Twins they've won their first postseason series since 2002, and so I would think the fans would be like, man, satisfied. First round, finally we got past that bugaboo, and so hearing that they're going to cut payroll, I would believe in them if I was a fan of the Twins. I'd be like, hey, these people have provided us something that we haven't seen in a long time. I believe in, Falvey up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in what his vision is. And yeah, cutting payroll, saving some money on this side, because I believe that they know what they're doing. But how are the fans dealing with going from like 160 million to 135?
155 million, and it could be as low as 125. It just depends on what they get. Here's a phrase I have learned in my 6 years. The Pohlad family owns the Twins. The phrase I would love to just get the red Men in Black. What's the red?
The neuralizer.
Yes, the neuralizer. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would love to neuralize cheap Pohlads out of my mind because I've heard that phrase forever. This was the ownership group that wanted to be contracted in 2002, staved off contraction. They've had a reputation. It's funny because the Twins last year spent more than they ever have. They've kind of shed this image. A lot of this, like I said, is natural. Joey Gallo is gone. Sonny Gray is gone. There's so much payroll from last year that's coming off the books and being replaced by younger guys who deserve to be there. Royce Lewis, Edward Julian, Matt Wallner should be in the major leagues. And Joey Gallo earned $11 million last year. Wallner's going to be $700,000. Royce Lewis is replacing Farmer and other guys who are making $5 million. He's going to be $750,000. Depending on Julian is going to replace Polanco. He made $10 million this year or whatever. So
you're saying there's nuance here.
There is some nuance.
No such thing with us fans.
But the fans absolutely don't want to hear it. They want the Twins to be all for it. First of all, Sonny Gray just got $75 million. Now, it's great. That's market value.
Congratulations, Sonny Gray.
I'm very happy for him. Would I have given Sonny Gray $25 million a year for his 34, 35, and 36 seasons? Not a chance. Like in 7 full seasons, the last 7 full seasons, so let's not count 2020. He made all starts that year. Twice in those 7 years did he make all of his starts. He had 3 injuries in his first year with the Twins that put him on the IL. I think Sonny Gray is a hell of a competitor. I think he's learned how to work his body and get better, but he also has always been injured. So do I give that dude $25 million when I'm the Twins and I'm going to run $160 million payroll max, maybe a $180 if it's like kind of pie in the sky? That's $160 your payroll. If it's $150, that's $160 your payroll on one dude that has injury history. No, I'm not doing that. That's not the mistake I'm going to make, especially Pablo Lopez goes to $20 million next year. They have him for 4 years. He's, I think, $8 million this year. Carlos Correa is already making $35 this year. Goes to $32. It goes down a little bit the next couple of years. That's not the guy I put my money on. I think that was a smart move. They got a draft pick for Sonny Gray. It'll be like the 35th pick in the draft. They traded the 26th pick in the draft to get Sonny Gray. They got 2 great years out of him. They won a division. I think they maximized what they wanted in him. So fans are kind of upset that they didn't get him. Some aren't. Some see the nuance. What they do need to do is go out and get somebody that's pretty solid to replace that, especially with Kenta Maeda also leaving. I think that they need to spend $15 to $20 million on a starting pitcher or get a younger starting pitcher in a trade. Do something, but it's complicated when you look at the payroll. If they're around $140 million on opening day, fans should be actually pretty pleased.
We'll talk more about the AL Central, the White Sox, Twins, etc. after I read this from CIRCA. They have tight money line splits, low hold model, and games will strive to be a -110 split on CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sportsbook, which may use a -115 or -120 splits. CIRCA Sports keeps as little money as possible on large market, especially compared to other books. CIRCA Sports does not limit players based upon their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit their winning players. And at CIRCA, they encourage bettors to download and explore all rest of the betting apps available and compare the lines to each sportsbook. There are real people behind the CIRCA Sports brand, so customer service is premium for them, who resolve their issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. All aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main CIRCA Sports account at CIRCA Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Right now, download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app and sign up today. Also, be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or somebody you know might have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text GAMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com. Vinnie, talk to us about the great, delicious beer that I usually drink, but today I'm drinking some coffee.
Herb, I don't know why you're doing that, because you know that we here like to have a honkingly good time. Thank you, Sarah. Whether you are drinking with the one I love to drink, the 312, there's still one in the fridge at home. I'm very excited. I might have to go drink that tonight with dinner. That sounds lovely. The one that Herb always enjoys, the Beer Hug series, there's 4 different kinds of those you can sample. And then the Full Pocket Pills, which is what the non-Milwaukee brewers are drinking over at the Goose Island Brewery over there. And then, of course, all the seasonal stuff. That's it's the most wonderful time of the year. And so,
is it Bing Crosby over there?
It's something like that. And so, of course, there's probably a wonderful Goose Island beer to go along with it. But, of course, Goose Island has been Chicago's beer since 1988, and we're very happy that they are supporters of us here at CHGO. If you want to try any of the beers that I mentioned, or any kind of fun varieties that you might not be able to find over at the Jewels, you can go ahead and grab an ultra-fresh brewery-exclusive beer at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or head on over to Westtown. They got a tap room over there on Fulton Street. You will be guaranteed to have a honkingly good time. That's Goose Island, Chicago's beer since 1988.
Midtown Athletic Club has 4 Chicagoland locations: Palatine in the northwest suburbs, Bannockburn in the North Shore, Willowbrook in the southwest suburbs, and Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel in the middle of Bucktown and Lincoln Park. I'm about to head over there right after we finish this show. Midtown Palatine has launched a multi-million-dollar transformation of the club, which will be complete in early 2024. Listeners can lock up favorable rates, and if they join before the end of the year, there's something for everybody: single people, married people, engaged people, people looking for holistic lifestyle changes, whatever you're looking for. They have it at Midtown. And one of the people who use Midtown says that Midtown Chicago is the nicest fitness club that they've ever been to, because they have super luxe locker rooms, wet and dry saunas, premium amenities, amazing outdoor and indoor pools and hot tubs, a collection of boutique fitness and studios, and more than 100 classes. I took the Les Mills body pump class the other day, still feeling it in the legs right now. A lot of squats. They have the arena, the Samadhi, Everybody Fights, Ride, Field, and the theater. These are some of their theater rooms that they have for you if you're doing some of these classes that they have available to you, which is part of the membership that you'll sign up for. The best tennis courts and programming in the sport. Midtown has indoor and outdoor tennis courts, pickleball, and paddleball courts for USTA professional quality all the way. Head over to midtown.com/CHGO and find out more to tour the Midtown Chicago place, or the Palatine one, or the Bannockburn one, or maybe even the Willowbrook one. Do it today. Last thing I got for you guys, when we're sitting here next year, 2024, maybe not November 29th, who will be the undisputed best player in the American League Central? There are a few candidates up. We've talked about Royce Lewis. We've talked about Luis Robert. Jose Ramirez is still in the division. Who will be the undisputed best player?
That's a good question. I'm going to go off the board for what you just said.
Snap. Oh, I know where you're going.
I'm going to go ahead and say Bobby Witt Jr. with the Kansas City Royals. If you've watched our show where I went through my MVP ballot, you know that I voted him 4th in the MVP race this year. Every time I watch that guy play, I am so impressed with the all-around skill set that he has to be able to hit like that, to hit for power, to run like that, to steal those bases, to play defense at a top position. The guy is incredible, and so I will say that right now he's the best player in the AL Central, and he will continue to be.
Dan?
I want to see what Royce Lewis does. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking Luis Robert. Just he's established. He's got the power. He plays center field, a premium position. He does it really well. Will it matter? No, it won't. It'll come on a rough team and having a rough season. Royce Lewis has the potential. Witt is great, and Witt showed so much in the second half that wasn't there for the first year and a half of his career. He made some leaps and bounds. Spencer Torkelson also had a really good second half of the year. He is the number 1 pick. I mean, so the potential's there, but he plays first base, so not nearly as important a position. I like that Witt pick. That's not a terrible one. I just think Robert is already established and is electric. And, they got a clean house around. It's got to be him. It's got to be, I don't know. It's unfortunate Moncada makes $24.5 million.
Yeah, he's going to be here.
There's no way getting out of that unless you're eating about $17 million of that.
Correct.
And I don't think they're going to eat $17 million of that. Maybe they could hope they plays great and say, look, if you play great, we can trade you out of here at the All-Star break and you can go play for a winner the rest of the season. But what else is there going on? He looked great the last 3 weeks of the season, month of the season. Before that, he's been awful, and it's been a couple of years since he got a few MVP votes and was a really good player.
I think I'm going to go with you, too. I see Luis Robert Jr. and the coaching additions that the White Sox have made probably are going to help him out. But also, I think this is his first real full season of playing baseball. And he did get hurt at the end of the year, so he didn't get to his own goal of 150 games playing in a year. I think he'll get there next year and also take it to the next level because now he knows his body, how his body works, and I think he'll just ascend to the top of the AL Central. And in some of that, I think he'll take some of his teammates with him. Now, they might not compete for the AL Central. I think they'll be much better than 61 and 101, but I think Luis Robert will still be the master of this AL Central.
If we see the Carlos Correa we saw in October when he was healthy too, by the way,
he was on the team.
I mean, he's amazing. The October version of him is why they signed him. That team should have gone far. It's unfortunate what happened. They couldn't hit against Houston in a couple games. Houston's the veteran team. That wasn't a very far. That series was very close. Like the Twins in Game 1 had chances. They couldn't break through against Justin Verlander. They have that mental hurdle of Justin Verlander that all these AL Central teams have had for 2 decades almost, it feels like. But Carlos Correa is a difference maker. We saw it in October. I just don't know that his peak Royce Lewis is so young, and Royce Lewis could be a 30 home run guy, and Luis Robert could be a 40 home run guy. So, I'm going to go with the youth, but Carlos Correa is a damn good player too.
That is Dan Hayes, and tell the people where they can find your work at The Athletic and on the different social medias.
Yeah, I'm Dan Hayes MLB on X, Twitter, whatever. Blue Sky, and except I haven't been using that. And
you have it though.
A Thread.
Do you have it all?
I have all those.
Oh wow!
I'm just waiting for
Twitter.
Blue Sky to get its own version of TweetDeck, and whoever comes up with that, I'm gonna commit. Like, please come up with your own TweetDeck, and I will abandon X in a second. But you can find me there and at The Athletic under Twins Copy.
And that is Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on X at Vinnie Duber. He is the CHGO White Sox beat reporter. Myself, I'm Eknerwall23 on Twitter. I haven't joined any of the. I have joined Blue Sky, but I barely use it. Yes, I agree. If they have a TweetDeck for that, or whatever they're going to call it there.
Wait, I'm like, what is Blue Sky? Am I like out of the loop? What is that?
Sarah, I don't know.
Yeah. Is that a new?
You're
Is
the
that a
young
new?
person.
No, that's why I'm asking. I'm like, did I miss something? I don't even know what that is.
It sounds like it's an old person's social media
network. It is
network.
the prettiest one of all of them.
Really?
It has the nicest little icon.
Let's see it.
It's a Twitter alternative.
Is it like it's like Twitter?
Yeah, but you need a
it's just
invite
Twitter.
I
from
had never heard of that.
But
you need an invite from somebody who's already using Blue Sky. So ask your friend.
So none of my friends use it either.
Yeah, they're rolling it out extremely slowly. I think that the hamster with the wheel is not. They're going to try and get a second one for Christmas. But
yeah, because
get
I'm
him a
like,
friend,
what are you
get
guys
the hamster
talking
a friend.
about?
yeah. I believe it's a lot of people from Twitter that went over there. So it looks very good. They're just taking forever.
Gotcha.
And the voice you just heard is of Sarah Fichter. She is young, but she doesn't know. Well, young people don't mess with Twitter anymore, so they just mess with the TikToks and the Snapchats of the world.
There's too much. I don't know. I have so much stuff that I have to keep track of now that I just don't want another app.
But Sarah's an old soul. She likes the Grateful Dead, so
I do like the Grateful Dead.
One of the few who are her age that like the Grateful Dead. So we'll be back tomorrow, Vinny and I, talking about these White Sox. We appreciate you guys joining us. We appreciate Dan Hayes giving us some great insight into the Twins and an outsider's view of how the White Sox feel. And your view is just as much as what the White Sox fans feel about this. And yes, it gave us some good levity that Twins fans are also pissed about their payroll going down, even though they're going to be better probably next year than 87 wins.
Herb, it's the offseason. There's one fan base that isn't pissed, and that's the Texas Rangers. Everybody else
Just
ready to rock.
So for these two gentlemen to my left and for Sarah Fichter, we will see you tomorrow at 3:30 on this same YouTube channel. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.